Greetings, Thrillseekers. I am the Master Programmer, Curator of Hidden Knowledge. Tonight, Rasputin has uncovered 3 chilling tales, each bound by a single, terrifying truth. Some knowledge is not meant to be found. So, if you're looking for a fright, something scary to watch at night, stay with us as we delve into these 3 terrifying tales. First, in Codex of Flesh, a linguist stumbles upon an ancient manuscript, but will his mind be able to accept the terrible truth he uncovers? Next, in The Last Broadcast, an Arctic research station receives a distress signal. It carries an impossible warning, one that cannot go ignored, and yet offers no escape. Who sent the message, and who is really listening? Finally, in Static Visions, a journalist watches a VHS tape showing events that haven't happened yet. But as the footage unfolds, he realizes the future is already set, and he's next. These stories are not for the faint of heart, so sit back, turn down the lights, and prepare to be haunted by the secrets Rasputin has uncovered. And if you enjoy our content, please like the video and subscribe to our channel for more chilling stories and dark discoveries. Welcome to another journey into the unknown, brought to you by the Dark Files. Daniel Carter had seen a lot of strange things in his years as a journalist, but nothing like the VHS tape that arrived on his doorstep one rainy evening. There was no return address, no note, just a black VHS tape inside a plain envelope. Curious, he slid it into his old VCR. At first, it showed nothing unusual. Just a quiet city street at night. Streetlights flickered, cars passed, and a woman walked alone on the sidewalk. Then, in the corner of the screen, the timestamp appeared. Tomorrow's date. Daniel frowned. Was this an old recording? A prank? On screen, the woman stopped. She turned around. She looked directly at the camera. His stomach tightened. That wasn't possible. The woman on screen shouldn't have been able to see him. But she did. Her lips moved, though there was no sound. Then, suddenly, she ran. The camera glitched, jumping forward in a jagged burst. She sprinted through the empty streets, looking back in terror at something just out of frame. The screen flickered. She was dead, face down on the pavement, blood pooling beneath her skull. Daniel's breath turned shallow. His hand shook as he reached for the remote. What the hell was this? He leaned closer, staring at the screen. And then he saw it. It wasn't just any street. It was his street. Ripping the tape from the VCR, Daniel's hands trembled. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be real. But still, he felt the urge to check. He grabbed his coat and stepped outside into the cold night air. His breath curled in the dim glow of the street light. The street was empty. But tomorrow night, she would be here, and she would die. Daniel didn't go to work, didn't eat. He sat by the window, watching, waiting. And then, at exactly 10:43 p.m., she appeared. The same woman, the same clothes, the same terrified look on her face. Daniel's hands were shaking. The tape was real. He ran outside. Wait! Don't move! The woman froze, her wide eyes locked onto his, the same way she had looked into the camera. You have to get off of the street, now! She took a step back, confused, afraid of him. Then, just like before, she turned and ran. Daniel chased after her, lungs burning, feet slamming against the pavement. But she was too fast, just like in the tape. He watched, helpless, as she rushed into the intersection. A pair of blinding lights, a scream, then impact. Daniel skidded to a stop, hands in his hair, stomach twisting. It happened the exact same way. He staggered backwards, his vision swimming. He tried to change it, but the tape was right. His head pounded. He needed air, needed a drink, needed to breathe. Slowly, he stumbled home. Daniel sat on the couch, staring at the floor. The VCR was still open, the tape half ejected. The static still hummed from the TV. Then, the tape pulled itself back inside. The screen flickered. A new timestamp appeared. Tomorrow's date. Daniel's breath stopped. A new recording was playing. And this time, he was the one on screen. Dr. Mercer had spent the last 6 months at Outpost Thule 7, a remote Arctic research station monitoring climate patterns. He and his 4-person crew were supposed to be there until spring. They weren't supposed to hear anything strange. But on March 18th, 1987, they picked up a signal on their shortwave radio. It was faint, buried under static, but undeniably human.
Thule 7, do you copy? Repeat, do not leave the station. Do not go outside. The world ended 2 days ago.
Silence followed. Mercer and his team stared at the radio, waiting for anything else. Coordinates, an explanation. But the signal cut to dead air. Who the hell was that? Asked Collins, the engineer. Mercer shook his head. Maybe another outpost is messing with us. But the voice in the transmission sounded wrong. There was something off about it, like it had been recorded from somewhere impossibly far away. They tried responding. No answer. They tried switching channels. Nothing. They tried calling base camp. Silence. March 19th, 1987. By morning, all external transmissions had gone silent. They tried calling the mainland. They had no response. Mercer kept trying to rationalize it. Solar flares, a storm, equipment failure. There's an explanation for this. But the others weren't so sure. Collins stayed by the radio all night, twisting the dials, listening to static that felt too heavy. March 20th, 1987. It wasn't until the second transmission that Mercer truly felt afraid. At exactly 2:13 a.m., the signal returned.
Thule 7, do you copy?
It was the same voice as before.
Do not leave the station. Do not go outside. The world ended 2 days ago.
A metallic hum followed, a sound like something breathing through the radio. Then, clear as day,
There is nothing left. But we hear you. and we are coming.
The transmission cut out. Collins backed away from the radio, white as a corpse. What the hell does that mean? It's a recording, Mercer's muttered, pacing. It has to be. But deep down, he knew that wasn't true. It was answering them, and it knew they were still alive. March 21st, 1987. By now, the crew was on edge, sleep-deprived, nervous. Collins had stopped speaking altogether. He just sat by the radio, listening to the static. At 3 a.m., the generator failed. The lights flickered, the heater shut off, and from the darkness, the radio turned on by itself.
We are outside.
Collins screamed. Mercer ran to the window, yanked open the blinds, and saw nothing, only the endless white of the Arctic. But as he stood there, staring into the frozen void, the radio crackled again. March 22nd, 1987. Final log entry. By dawn, Collins was gone. The door was still locked from the inside. No footprints in the snow. No signs of struggle. Just his radio headset, lying in the middle of the floor. And the transmitter, still hissing with static. Mercer had heard enough. "We're leaving," he told the others. "Right now." They packed their gear, suited up for the 40-mile trek to the nearest outpost. If no one was answering their distress calls, they'd have to find help themselves. 3 weeks later, a rescue team arrived at Outpost Thule 7. The station was empty. No signs of a struggle. No footprints in the snow. Nothing. The generator was still running. The heater was on. The food was still on the table, half eaten, as if the crew had been there just moments ago. One of them turned on the radio. It was still broadcasting. At first, it was just static. Then, a voice. A voice they all recognized.
Thule 7, do you copy?
The blood drained from their faces. It was Dr. Mercer. His voice was calm, steady.
Do not leave the station. Do not go outside. The world ended 2 weeks ago.
The rescue team stood frozen. That wasn't a recording. It wasn't an echo. It was Mercer, still transmitting, still somewhere. Dr. Victor Henshaw had spent his life searching for lost languages, but the manuscript that arrived at his university office one cold autumn morning was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Bound in something that felt disturbingly organic, the book bore no title. Its pages, smooth yet fibrous, were covered in symbols that seemed to shift if stared at too long. The accompanying letter was unsigned. It speaks when understood. For weeks, Henshaw worked in solitude, attempting to translate what he began calling the Codex of Flesh. He ran scans, analyzed its composition. The ink wasn't ink at all. It was biological. Blood? He wasn't sure. The symbols made no sense at first, but he refused to stop. He needed to understand. Late one night, after hours of feeding its pages into his AI-assisted language model, the first sentence appeared on the screen. You were made. His breath hitched. He ran to the next page. You were assembled. The words burned into his mind. Henshaw became obsessed, barely eating, barely sleeping, muttering phrases from the Codex under his breath. His colleagues whispered, the dark circle under his eyes, his shaking hands. One night, as he traced a particularly intricate symbol, he felt his fingertips split open. Not from the paper, from the shape itself. The wound pulsed, not bleeding, but weeping something darker. He turned to his reflection in the window. It looked wrong, stretched, tired. But still, he kept reading. The text detailed something horrifying. Humanity did not evolve. It did not come from gods. It was built. Flesh was crafted, woven together from something older than history itself. The world was a machine of living tissue. And then, at the very bottom of the page, a new passage appeared. Now you see. Now you know. Now we are whole. Henshaw screamed. The walls pulsed, shifting like muscle beneath a surgeon's scalpel. His desk, wooden just moments ago, was now slick and veined, throbbing with an unseen pulse. The air, thick with the stench of copper and rot. He clawed at his own skin, watching in horror as his flesh unraveled into symbols, the very ones he translated. They writhed across his body, rewriting him, consuming him. In the days that followed, his office was found empty, his research gone. His colleagues claimed they had no idea who Dr. Henshaw was. But something remained. Deep in the university archives, a new page has appeared in the Codex of Flesh. A fresh, twitching page. Somewhere, far beyond what we call reality, Victor Henshaw screamed. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the chills, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our page to stay updated. Stay vigilant. The unknown is always closer than you think.